Well, how about it? It's 7 p.m. Mountain Time. The little red light is shining in the corner. And the light, there goes the green light, baby. We're up, we're on. I'm Max. Thank you for joining me. Even though the name of the show is Max Rants, sometimes it's just Max Discusses. And I'd like to discuss some things that are also disgusting, but need to be addressed. I want to talk about this war in the Ukraine. Let's get real, okay? All the press is saying the real aggressor is Vladimir Putin, and they're putting 100% of the blame on him when that is not the way it's supposed to be. You understand, the American media, including my once beloved New York Post, is avoiding the truth like the plague. I swear to God. Is it ignorance? Is it prejudice? Is it stupidity or laziness? Is this what brings Western media to attack Vladimir Putin of Russia? They keep beating the war drums. They're locked in this new Cold War. I guess they missed the old one of their own design. And they're doing everything they can to create a Cold War. The lying and conniving con men and women of the mass media, man, they have painted Putin as, and this is their terms, the real aggressor, like the New York Post says. Whatever. No, there are aggressors on both sides. Then there are aggressors behind the scenes. Why don't we talk about them just a little bit? Because the truth is, they're wrong. Because they're wrong. Let me get into it. Okay. With their own hidden, and it's obvious they've got some sort of agenda, secret and not so damn secret. They want to continue to hold up Vladimir Putin as an absolute monster, entirely responsible for the whole Ukraine war. It's his fault. Everything's his fault, without looking into the whole story from beginning to end. Do a little history, see what happened, because it is impossible to tell who is to blame and to what extent unless you look at it and read, you dumbasses. All right, let's think about it a minute. Volodymyr Zelensky, he's the CIA-installed dictator of Ukraine, the unelected dictator. This guy turned on his people like Hitler on the Jews. Just as soon as he got into office, he grabbed his people by the throat. He kicked his brown shirts out there. They were shaking businesses down, from mom and pop leather tanneries to factories. Just as soon as he got a hold of it, the office, the CIA put him in. What did he do before he became the president? He was a failed stand-up comedian living in a studio apartment, basement apartment in the southeast end of Kyiv, which is kind of like under the Bronx, okay? He sent his brown shirts out, shook everybody down. Why? Because he wants to keep control. And he controls Ukraine with fear. I have friends in Ukraine. I talk to them, and they're living under the mantle of fear from this monster. Really, his tax and shakedown is for no other reason than to fund Zelensky's own personal dreams, ambitions, his own acquisitions. Gee, it sounds a little bit like a lot of Mussolinis that we've seen in the past. Now please remember that Zelensky has an openly admitted, abiding hatred of all things and all people Russian. So he put extra pressure, extra punishment on the 3 eastern agricultural provinces of Ukraine because the people there are almost entirely of Russian extraction. Well, they're on the Russian border. Under the Soviet Union, it was all one thing. So all these people in the eastern provinces speak Russian, and that makes Zelensky angry. They trade among themselves. That pisses him off. So he doubled the taxes on them. I mean, because he hates everything Russian. And I think it's because he's jealous of their work ethic, the discipline, the agricultural success. All that does is piss him off. This guy is a tin pot dictator and a tool of the CIA.
What I'm telling you is a fact. These three provinces said, my God, we're in trouble. And they went to the UN and said, can you help us? You know what the UN said? You have to go through Kyiv to get to us. Wait a minute. Isn't Kyiv where Zelensky lives? Right. No way in hell. So they turned around, having so much family in Russia, went to Moscow for help and said, please help us, Vladimir Putin. The UN won't help us, and Zelensky is slaughtering us. Well, what's next? We know, it's history. Russia responded by massing troops and equipment on the border because Putin thought this might scare Zelensky. It might make him back off if he saw 30, 40,000 troops get up on the border. Well, Zelensky, knowing the CIA had his back, that America's behind him, Biden's right there with him, responded by launching an artillery barrage into one of these three provinces and very close to Russian positions. In fact, one of the shells, at least, went over the border into Russia, and the Russian soldiers suffered some casualties. No death, but several people injured. See what you got here? You got a CIA-backed dictator who fired a shot at the Russian bear. Well, the response was predictable. In less than 3 days, Russia moved into these three provinces. They rescued the provinces. They gave them reasons to be. It was like Patton rolling into Sicily, for God's sake. They're throwing flowers and the tanks are rolling in. And they set up borders along the edge of the province where the provinces attached to the larger ones of inner Ukraine. Well, once they got a hold of it, once they secured it with artillery, air support, ground troops, the UN came in and they had elections. Now think. I don't care if it's not Ukraine law. The people who lived in these three provinces voted almost unanimously to join the Russian Federation. You think Zelensky was pissed? The guy was livid. My source says that he walked around the office knocking things off the shelves, kicking things, and saying dirty words in Russian. The people he hates and wants to bully and terrorize are now Russian citizens. They belong to the bear. Okay? That puts them out of his reach. That means the secret police and paramilitary bullies can no longer wreak havoc and terror among those critical agricultural provinces. They're now Russia. They're no longer Ukraine. Wake up, you idiots. It was a UN supervised, hell, it was an election far more transparent than America's presidential elections have been. Maybe we should put UN monitors in the U.S. to keep our elections honest. Well, let's get out of that. Go back to this. There's something more compelling in the mind of this unelected dictator. More than just the power over the people. That is money. A lot of money. Bucket loads of money. With the hundreds of billions, billions of dollars sent to him by the U.S., by Europe, by others. This punk has managed to squander a whole bunch of it. You're not going to get a receipt. He doesn't sell where anything goes. He has no accounting. Here's hundreds of billions. Do what you want. We don't need a receipt. What the hell's that about? That's one arrow pointing right at Washington. Zelensky does not want peace. Every time there's a peace talk, he's the one to torpedo it. Not Putin, not Trump. Zelensky shoots down all of these peace talks because as long as the war goes on, he's going to keep on making money. He's getting rich from the war. I mean, he's already bought 2 villas on the French Riviera. He's bought controlling interest in a casino in Macau. And of course, he wants more. Peace would mean that his cash flow would dry up. Peace would mean that he'd fall under the scrutiny of his people as they picked up the pieces of what he's done. Hell, they might even arrest him. The press might even start telling the truth. But let's not forget Zelensky's buddies at the DNC. That's the Democratic National Committee here in America. Don't forget those people, because that's where a whole lot of this cash goes through Zelensky, goes through the 20 shell companies the Biden set up around the world, And that money, a lot of it, goes right into the coffers of the Democrat National Committee. That's where they get a lot of their hundreds of billions of dollars and their hundreds of millions they spend on elections. They're laundering it through the war effort. You understand that's a full spectrum money laundry if ever there was one. So I'm going to come down to it. Who's to blame for the war? Well, the U.S. is largely to blame. Why is that? It's because our CIA, installed a dictator. Then we supported a dictator. Then, when Ukraine denuked under treaty, we promised to protect it. We lied again. We lied to them and set them up for the war. So primarily, I'm putting the blame on the USA. A very close second is Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. The man is a monster. And then third wise, because it takes two to tango, okay, Mr. Putin, you two are in there. But I'll tell you right now, he's not as bad as Zelensky and not nearly as bad as what we've done. We have Trump. Trump needs to look at this properly, look down the barrel of the real war, and see why so many of the weapons we give him are sold off to other countries like Romania, the former Czech Republic. I mean, how is it that Ukraine has become one of the 5 top weapons suppliers in the world? We give him the Marine Corps tanks. He sells them off. I'm going to get a drink here. Love my Pepsi. Give him tanks, he sells them. Give him planes, he sells them. He keeps just enough to make a token effort. Know this right now. The general leadership of their war is so bad that as of the last quarter of this year, January through March, the kill ratio is 11 Ukrainians dead for every Russians dead. You hear me? 11 to 1. You can't sustain that. Good God. Does the CIA give a shit? No. Was Biden behind it? Oh, hell yeah. He and his little bastard Hunter made the whole damn thing run. Mr. Trump, I'm afraid he has swallowed this one. He's got the hook in his lip. He is not yet understanding the true villains in the Ukraine war. And how do you stop it? Simple. The CIA started it. The CIA can stop it. And how do you stop it? You cut off all fundings to Ukraine. You have a sit down with Mr. Putin and say, look, those 3 provinces that you rescued, they wanted to be with you. Keep them. Mr. Zelensky, back off. Here's your new border. Take it and suck on it. And if you don't like it, we'll get him with Russia and help him crush your sorry ass. Only Zelensky can bring the final lasting peace we need. And again, he doesn't want peace because as long as Ukrainians are dying in the war, this son of a bitch is making money. It breaks my heart. There's not a damn thing I can do about it. I continue to trade with friends in Ukraine. I have friends I just talked to, and they tell me that they are afraid of Zelensky. He is very much like Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, Idi Amin Dada, Papadakh Duvalier. Can I go on? Let's add a couple others. Joe and Hunter Biden, Jimmy Carter. I'm done. I've ranted. I hope I've been of some help. God bless you all. Talk to you tomorrow.